My name is Nitin Pradhan and I'm coming to you from Washington, D.C. in US. And in this video, we are going to talk about a couple of different things. The first thing we are going to talk about is what is the GRE exam. The second thing we are going to talk about is whom are you really going to compete with when you take the GRE exam. The third thing we are going to talk about is how do you score really well in the GRE exam. And then finally, we are going to talk about how do you really leverage your GRE score to not only get admission, but financial aid. So a very important video coming up. Let's get started. Let's now tackle what is the GRE exam. First of all, the GRE exam is a standardized test. It's a test that is required in many colleges and universities if you want to study graduate level education in US and many foreign countries. So what is the GRE exam actually measuring? The GRE exam is measuring the capacity and capability for you to study graduate level programs and succeed in them. That's what they're trying to figure out. And the way they're trying to figure out is by testing you in a number of different fields. But they're going to test you in your verbal skills, they're going to test you in your reading and writing skills, and they're going to test you in the math skills. That is what the GRE exam is doing. One of the things which we suggest is that before you take the test, you understand who is your competition. You want to know that before you take the test. So this is a really great report that actually helps you do that. This report is from ETS. These are the folks who actually put out the GRE examination. So let's take a look at this report. So I'm going to go to first page number 5. And in page number 5, you can actually see the examinee population. And what you can see here is that 53% of the test takers are women and 45% of them are men. And you have the verbal scores, the quantitative scores, and the analytical scores here. So you can actually compare yourself and see how well you're doing compared to these folks. The next thing I want to do is actually talk about the citizenship of the folks who are taking this exam. And if you look at this particular table, table 1.2, you can see that the US citizens are roughly 57% of the population taking the test, and the non-citizens are roughly 43% taking this test. Now, one of the other things which I want you to sort of look at is the age group and the gender. If you see here, the population taking the test is much younger. Most of the folks are really under age 23. There are a whole bunch of folks in the 23 to 25 category. There are a few folks in 25 to 30 category. And then as you increase the age, the number of people taking the test actually reduces. Now, if you're curious as to what the scores in your particular country are, this is the sheet that you need to go to, table 1.9. And again, you can stop this video and check out what the scores are in your country. I'm just going to go slowly over all the countries here so that you can stop and actually check out what scores are coming in your country. And as I said, there are details about the verbal scores, the quantitative scores, and the analytical scores. It helps to know where and how your country is performing with the mean, and where exactly are you performing with all of these people put together. Now, one of the other interesting things you might want to note is what are the undergraduate majors of the people who are taking the test. And this figure 1.2 actually talks about it. As you can see here, the folks taking life sciences seem to be the most important undergraduate major that are taking this kind of a test here. And now if you actually go to this figure 1.3, it's talking about the intended graduate major. So the first chart that we saw was what was your undergraduate degree. Now we are looking at what's going to be a graduate degree. And again, as you can see, roughly 28% of them are really in the life sciences category. They're mostly women. Then there are a whole bunch of engineering folks that are getting in. Most of them are men. So again, you can look out and see how you compare to this whole category. Now, a couple of other things I want to quickly go over is really the work experience of the folks who are taking this exam. And again, as you can see, most of the folks have less than 1 year of work experience. There are a few people in 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 7. You can again compare and see in table 1.18 how you compare with this particular category. And then one other thing that I want to sort of mention, it's on page 54, is which are the preferred locations for graduate study for the GRE folks who are taking in. So as you can see, majority of the folks who are taking in GRE are really coming to the US. And again, it's pretty evenly spread across the US. Then besides US, there are a whole bunch of folks who are trying to come to Canada. But again, if you actually compare, there are more folks coming in a part of the region than entire Canada, entire Africa, entire Asia, entire Australia, and even entire Europe. So as you can see, US is the big draw for GRE graduates, for the exam, and you can always see where you want to go in this particular discussion here. So that's really what I wanted to talk about. One more quick area which might be of interest: where is the maximum volume of the GRE test takers coming from? Again, if you can look at this chart here, table 3.1, US is roughly 68% of all examinees. India is roughly 10%. Mainland China is 9%. Europe is 3%. And then all others are in the balanced categories. We thought it was important that you understand what your competition is, what the average scores are, so that you can better plan and prepare your test taking strategies. Let me now come to a very important question that many students ask us. And the question is, how do I prepare well so I get a really good score in the GRE exam? Other version of this question is, how early should I start preparing so that I get a really terrific score? And there are all kinds of answers on the internet. Someone will tell you, you study for 1 month. Somebody will say you study for 2 months or 3 months or 6 months. Some might say, well, study for a year or 2 years. So what's the right answer? The right answer depends on you. And let me explain. Let's assume you were not actually doing the GRE exam, but your job was to get the best time for a 1 mile race. How much effort would you need to do so that you get the best timing? The question is very simple, but the answer depends on you. That's going to depend on how fit you are. If you have been generally exercising well, if you have been running well, if you have been getting a good time, then you could exercise very little and actually take that race and actually win it. But if you have never been exercising, if you have never ran, if you have been lethargic and lazy, then you will need a lot of practice before you go out and win that race. That's exactly what's happening in the GRE exam. If you have generally been working in your reading and writing and your math skills, then you're not going to need that kind of effort to actually score well in your GRE exam. But if you have not been doing that, then you're going to need a lot of effort. So one of the things that we advise you is that you actually go out and start working on some of these basic skills: how to read well, get your vocabulary up, how to write well, the grammar, all of these kind of things, understanding the maths basics. If you actually know some of these things and know them well, then you are going to do great in your GRE exam. Now, one more thing. Just like when you're taking a particular race and you're actually attempting the race, and if you're practicing, you're going to practice the full race. You're going to practice at the right time when the race is there. You're going to practice in the right temperature, at the right altitude. So you are going to have the exact test-taking conditions when you're practicing. The same is true with GRE exam. The GRE exam is long and complicated. So you don't want to just take part of the exam each time and actually complete the whole exam. That's not going to give you the full experience of the actual exam. So you must create the test taking conditions when you're actually practicing the test. There's a lot more information that we have that I'm going to actually point you to so you can actually look at that. But that is some basic advice that we have for you. One of the questions that we get asked often by students is, will I be successful in my GRE exam? And that's the wrong question to answer. Because, there's no really success or failure in a GRE exam. GRE exam is actually just looking at your capacity and capability for you to succeed in graduate level. And it's only one of the indicators that colleges use to actually make that decision to actually admit you at a graduate level and give you financial aid. So there's really no one successful yes, no, on, off, plus, minus kind of a situation. It's just an indicator. You want to actually make sure that you have the right grit to actually go out and take the exam and then actually join the right college and succeed. And one of the best things you can do is to actually take this free program, because it's going to allow you to think properly about college education in US and how to be successful in your life. And the beauty of it is it's a terrific program and it's completely free. And here's how you access it. You can go to scaleupusa.xyz. You can click on Career Acceleration. And when you click on Career Acceleration, join this program called Career Trajectory. It has two parts. It has a foundational part and it has a premium part. The foundational part is entirely free, and that's really the counseling that you are getting as to how to succeed in your college as well as in your life. It's a great program. I would highly encourage you to actually take it if you have not taken that. The last thing I want to talk to in this particular video is how do you leverage your GRE score. Now remember, the GRE score is not an end in itself. The GRE score is there so that you can actually get admission and financial aid in the college of your preference. Now, how do you do that? Obviously, you want to get as high a GRE score as you can. But there are lots and lots of techniques that you need to be aware of so that you can actually put the best foot forward and get admission and potentially even full financial aid. And the way you do this is you actually have a strategy for actually getting into a college and winning admission. Now, I'm not going to get into all the details here because there's a full premium program that you can join on Career Trajectory. But here are a couple of things you need to look at. You need to look at what major you're actually going to go out and apply for. There are lots and lots of options in US. There are thousands of majors that you can actually take in US. And so you need to decide the right major, because depending on the right major, the scores that are going to be required are going to be different, and the admission and the fellowship policy may differ. You also need to look at selecting the right college or the right university that actually matches your GRE score. And there's a whole lot of discussion that we actually have in the program that you should actually look at. If you're going to go out and take a loan, you need to be extra careful. There are all kinds of discussions that we have there that you need to look at. Invest a little bit of money for your future. Do not go out and take a large loan without actually having the whole strategy behind it. We discussed that strategy in Career Trajectory, and you should look at it. We know lots and lots of students who are coming especially from international countries and getting $50, $100, $150,000 in loans without having any idea how to pay it back. And they are taking loans at a very high interest rate, sometimes as high as 12 or 13%. So there's a lot of discussion that you need to actually have and actually research, and that discussion is happening in the premium section that I would suggest you actually go out and look at. Then, of course, the other thing that you need to look at is how do you improve your entire college application itself? Because if your college application is absolutely superb, you have branded yourself well, your essays are terrific, your recommendation letters are great, your personal statements are really, really fine, then you're going to have this opportunity to actually go out and not only get admission, but full financial aid. The question is, how do you do it step by step? The wrong way to do it is to try and find an education consultant and ask that person to actually help you to get all of this done. They don't have a vested interest in you. The only person who has a vested interest in you is you yourself. And so if you want to succeed in US, you better be ready to sacrifice to actually go out and win in US. US is not a country where you actually tell somebody to do stuff for you. This is a country of self-made people. So if you're interested in getting into the right college and getting into the right place and actually getting financial aid, then you need to actually build your custom strategy. You need to build a terrific application and you need to be able to submit it on time. And that's a big discussion that we are having in the premium section. So spend some time, actually get into that, actually discuss all of these things, not only with your friends and family, but with your guidance counselor, and then come up with a custom strategy using the steps that we are telling you. So all the best.